Snow drifted through the air in slow, silent spirals, drifting like tiny pieces of broken glass under the dim streetlights. Christmas Eve had a way of making the whole world feel warm, magical, alive, but not for Emma. Not tonight. Not when every step she took felt heavier than the last, and every breath showed her just how cold life could get when luck forgot your name. She pulled her thin coat tighter, though it barely helped. The wind slipped right through it like it wasn't even there. Her fingertips were numb, her cheeks burning from the cold, and her heart, well, that had been cold long before the winter came. And yet, even with all that, she whispered to herself, just a few more blocks. You've got this. Because when life is merciless, sometimes your only shield is a whispered lie of strength. The street was nearly empty, just one or two people hurrying home, holding bags of gifts and boxes wrapped with shiny ribbons. They looked happy. They looked safe. They looked like they belonged to a world Emma had been locked out of long ago. Her hand slipped into her coat pocket, feeling the edges of the last $10 she had left. The bill was folded, soft from being touched too many times, like it was the last fragile thread holding her life together. She had been saving it for a small gift for her daughter, Lily, just something tiny so she wouldn't show up empty-handed tomorrow. Lily was only 7, too young to understand why Mommy was always tired, why Mommy didn't have a house with lights on it like Daddy did, why Santa never seemed to visit Mommy's place. But she tried. She smiled. She hugged Emma like she didn't care about any of it. That made it worse, in a way. Because every time Lily smiled at her, Emma felt the weight of her failures pressing against her chest. Tonight, she had walked all the way across town looking for a place that might still be open, somewhere she could buy just a small gift, a coloring book, a little doll, anything. But shop after shop had closed early for the holiday. The world was celebrating. The world didn't have time for people like her. And now she was stranded, freezing, miles away from the shelter where she could at least get a warm cot. Her legs trembled. Her fingers shook. Her lips were turning blue. For a terrifying moment, she thought she might faint right there on the sidewalk. Then she heard it, the distant rumble of a bus engine turning the corner. The bus. Her only chance to get somewhere warm. Her only chance to survive the night. But the price flashed in her mind, $10. The exact amount in her pocket. The last piece of hope she had saved for Lily. She stepped toward the arriving bus, torn in half. Her heart screamed for her daughter, but her body, her freezing, exhausted body begged for warmth. The bus pulled up with a hiss, doors opening wide, spilling out a wave of warm air that touched her cheeks like a cruel invitation. The driver glanced at her, waiting. Emma stood frozen, snowflakes catching in her eyelashes. If she spent the money now, Lily would wake up tomorrow to nothing. Not even a small gift to pretend the world was fair. But if she didn't take that bus... A shiver ran through her so violently that her knees buckled. The cold wasn't just uncomfortable anymore, it was dangerous. The driver raised an eyebrow. You getting in? His voice wasn't rude. Just tired. A tiredness Emma understood deeply. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. Why, yes. Her fingers trembled as she pulled out the $10 bill. She stared at it one last time, as if trying to burn it into her memory, the last thing she owned. Then she let it slip from her hands into the driver's. It felt like letting go of her last piece of dignity. She walked to the back of the bus and sank into a seat, pressing her numb hands between her knees, trying to breathe warmth back into them. The bus groaned forward, and the city lights blurred past her like streaks of gold and red. Outside, families carried stacks of presents. Children laughed in scarves too big for their faces. Couples walked hand in hand. It all stung. Not because they were happy, but because happiness seemed so far away from her, it felt like a different universe. Every jolt of the bus reminded her of the ache in her feet. Every passing street reminded her of how far she had fallen. But the worst part was the silence. The way no one looked at her. The way she blended into the background like she wasn't even real. She pressed her forehead to the cold window, letting her breath fog the glass. I'm trying, she whispered to her reflection. I really am. The bus finally stopped near the shelter. Emma stepped off into a blast of cold air that sliced right through her. She gasped, pulling her coat close as snowflakes kissed her cheeks and melted into her skin. The streets were nearly empty now. No music. No chatter. Just the wind, sweeping through the night like it was searching for something to steal. Emma crossed the street slowly, her legs stiff, her eyes stinging from the cold. She kept telling herself she would be okay, she always figured something out. She always survived. Even when life cornered her, she still found a way to crawl out. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the universe had forgotten she existed. She looked up at the sky, watching snowflakes fall like tiny miracles meant for other people. Her chest ached. Then, headlights flooded her vision. A black limousine rolled to a silent stop right beside her. Its polished surface reflected the falling snow like something unreal, the kind of car she had only ever seen in movies. The back window lowered slowly. A woman's voice spoke, soft but steady. "Emma Turner?" Emma froze, her breath catching in her throat. "Why, yes. Who are you?" The woman inside smiled gently, almost sadly, like she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "You," she said, her voice warm against the cold night, "are the reason I'm here." Emma felt her heart slam against her ribs. A limousine. On Christmas Eve. Stopping for her. The world, for the first time in forever, felt like it was holding its breath. And Emma had no idea her life was about to change forever. For a long, breathless moment, Emma just stood there, staring at the limousine like it was a hallucination brought on by hunger and cold. The snow fell harder now, sticking to her hair, her lashes, her coat. The world around her was silent, so silent that she could hear her own heartbeat pounding against her ribs. The back door opened, and the woman stepped out elegantly, as if the icy sidewalk wasn't even cold beneath her heels. A chauffeur rushed forward with an umbrella, shielding her from the snow. She looked like someone who belonged to a world of glass offices, warm fireplaces, and perfect Christmas dinners. Someone who had never known the taste of fear, or hunger, or despair. But her eyes, those warm, steady eyes, held something Emma recognized instantly. Kindness. "Emma Turner," she said again, her voice gentle in the biting cold. "I've been looking for you." The words hit Emma like a wave. Looking for her? Why? People didn't look for her. People avoided her. Life avoided her. I don't understand," Emma stammered, hugging her arms around herself. "Do I know you?" The woman took a slow breath, something like emotion flickering across her face. "My name is Margaret Hale. And no, you don't know me. But I knew someone very important to you." Emma's heart stumbled. "Who?" Margaret's voice softened, tender, and aching. "Your mother." The world swayed beneath Emma's feet. My mother," she whispered, every word fragile. "But she passed away years ago." "I know," Margaret said, stepping closer. "But I made her a promise. One I haven't forgotten." Emma felt the cold creep deeper into her bones, mixing with disbelief. Her mother had been gone for so long. A memory. A fading warmth. A voice she tried to remember every night before sleep. The idea that anyone, still remembered her mother felt unreal. Emma blinked, fighting tears that stung her eyes. "What kind of promise?" Margaret hesitated, and for the first time, her polished calm cracked just slightly. "Let's get you warm first. Please. Come with me. We can talk inside." Every part of Emma's life had trained her to distrust kindness. She had been lied to, abandoned, tricked, forgotten. And yet, something in Margaret's voice felt different. Honest. Human. Emma nodded slowly. The chauffeur opened the limousine door, and warmth washed over her the moment she stepped inside. It was like entering another universe, soft leather seats, gentle golden lights, the faint smell of pine and vanilla. She couldn't remember the last time she had been warm enough to unclench her shoulders. Margaret slid into the seat across from her. "You're shivering," she murmured. "Here." She draped a thick blanket over Emma's lap. Real, heavy wool. The kind of blanket that felt like safety. "Thank you," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. Margaret watched her carefully. When was the last time you ate? Emma looked down, embarrassed. Yesterday morning. Margaret inhaled sharply, not in judgment, but in pain. You've been carrying a burden alone for too long. Emma's throat tightened. I'm trying. I really am. I know, Margaret said softly. Your mother was the same. Strong. Stubborn. Too willing to sacrifice herself for others. At the mention of her mother again, Emma felt her breath catch. You really knew her? Yes. She worked for me years ago, back when I was still building my business. I was a single mother then, broke, overwhelmed, barely surviving. Your mom, she was my anchor. She took extra shifts so I could make it to interviews. She stayed with my son when I had no one else. She even lent me money once when I couldn't afford Christmas dinner. Emma's eyes widened. Her mother had never told her any of that. She never asked for anything, Margaret continued, her voice thickening. Not one thing. I tried to repay her, to give her bonuses, gifts, anything, she refused. She always said the same thing. Emma leaned in, heart pounding. What did she say? Margaret smiled sadly. She said, when you're standing tall someday, and you see my little girl struggling, help her. That's all I want. Emma's breath shattered. A sob escaped her, sudden and uncontrollable. She pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to swallow the pain, the love, the grief rising like a storm. Margaret reached across the space between them, taking Emma's shaking hand. I'm sorry it took me so long to find you. But I'm here now. And I'm not leaving. The limousine slowed, then stopped. Emma wiped her tears, confused. Where are we? Margaret gestured toward the window. Outside stood a small but beautiful apartment building, wrapped in soft golden lights. A fresh Christmas tree glowed through the lobby window. It looked warm. Safe. Like a place for people who still had hope. Emma shook her head slowly. No, this can't be for me. It is, Margaret said firmly. Come. The lobby smelled like cinnamon and pine. Music played softly, an old Christmas song that tugged painfully at Emma's memories of childhood. She followed Margaret numbly, like she was sleepwalking. Then Margaret placed a key in her hand. Emma stared at it. What is this? Your new home. Emma's knees nearly buckled. No, I can't. I can't afford. You won't have to pay a cent for the first year, Margaret said. After that, we'll talk. But for now, you deserve stability. You deserve warmth. You deserve a life where survival isn't your only goal. Emma's tears blurred the lights around her. Why would you do this for me? I'm just. Don't say it, Margaret interrupted gently. Don't finish that sentence. You're not just anything. You are your mother's daughter. You are strong. And you are loved more than you think. Emma covered her face with her hands and sobbed harder than she had in years. Her whole life, every struggle, every night she went hungry, every moment she felt alone, came crashing out of her in waves. Margaret wrapped her arms around her, holding her like a mother would. You don't have to fight alone anymore. When Emma finally caught her breath, she whispered, I don't know how to repay you. Margaret smiled, brushing a tear from Emma's cheek. You already did. How? Emma asked, voice trembling. By surviving long enough for me to keep my promise. Emma exhaled a laugh, broken, full of relief and disbelief all at once. I spent my last $10 on a bus ride tonight. Margaret squeezed her hand. Then I suppose this is your Christmas miracle arriving right on time. Later, when Emma placed a beautifully wrapped gift into Lily's hands, a real gift, not guilt or apology, her daughter's eyes sparkled with a joy Emma had never seen before. Mommy, Lily whispered, hugging her tight, this is the best Christmas ever. Emma closed her eyes, holding her closer than ever. It is, she breathed. And it's only the beginning.